All right. Welcome to another episode of the Bella Grace podcast, where we are helping you find freedom from mindsets, behaviors, and addictions that are holding you back from unlocking your true potential. And I'm excited because I have a new friend on the show this week. Her name is Terry Lewis. And we met through a speakers group, I believe, through Bree Talks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're both working on crafting our signature speech, learning how to be more confident on the stage. And I'm just excited to have you. We talked once and we've been on the same calls over and over, but I'm so glad that you're here. So, Terry helps women who feel stuck in their relationship, who know that they love their spouse, but just don't feel that spark anymore. Terry can help you bring back that spark and reconnect with your spouse again. I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you got into this space.
Okay. Well, I guess I would start with how I kind of got into it was I was looking for a place to learn about my emotions and how to process them. And so I actually went to Heartwork University and learned through some doodling and watercolor painting, like about emotions because I grew up like in a family that I felt like um, I wasn't really seen or heard. My emotions were, you know, too big, I guess, for them. I would hear things like, you're too sensitive, you make mountains out of molehills. And so I kind of had damped them down and I didn't know how to process them. So a long way around, I went to this heartwork journaling and I just learned so much about myself and my emotions. And I had been married and still am married. I'm going to be married for 41 years. And I saw the difference it made in my relationship because I was that woman. I can relate to that. I was committed. We both loved each other, but I just felt like we weren't connecting. I didn't was wasn't having that longing, the deeper connection that I longed for.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that a lot of married couples go through. And 41 years is a long time.
Yes, I
That is a
know.
long time. That's almost as old as I am. I'll be 40 this year. So,
Wow.
yes, yeah.
I know. So we stuck it through, but I felt so trapped.
Mhm.
Like, especially as a Christian, I committed to this marriage, till death do us part, and here I am, but like, are you kidding? Is this all there is?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what your client, when someone comes to you,
hmm
um, what is going on in their life? Like, how can they recognize that they've lost that connection? Because I know so many people. I live in a neighborhood where it is predominantly families with children because people buy in this neighborhood
Okay.
simply because they want their kids to go to the school in this neighborhood.
Right.
Right. And so most of our neighbors are they're either soon to be parents, newlyweds that are anticipating having children. So they preemptively moved to this neighborhood,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they are parents with young kids, elementary age kids. And then you have people like me and my husband, we have high school age kids. And then you have the families whose kids have graduated and moved on, but they're still here in the neighborhood for whatever reason. So we have people all across the board. But
Mhm.
you may not know this, but my other profession is a photographer. And so
Oh,
I do family photos for a lot of the people in our neighborhood. And I find it really interesting, for lack of a better word, that some of the families that I photograph, the parents are like, "Oh, we got to get our picture together, just the two of us." And other times, because I always suggest it, I'm like, okay, mom and dad, it's your turn. We've gotten you with the kids, we've gotten mom with the kids, dad with the kids, we've gotten, the family photo. Now we need one of just mom and dad because it's not very often that you get dressed up and get all pretty and then actually
Yeah,
get your photo taken.
right.
So as a couple, and so I always suggest it, but I'll have some couples who are like, oh no, we don't need that.
Mhm.
And then I'll have other couples who are like, yes, please, thank you. And they're all over it. And they're
Yeah.
immediately like linking arms or holding each
Mhm.
other, or, they're doing the things that are natural to them in a photography setting, which is like, lean into each other, hug each other, sneak kisses, or like be playful with each other. But then there's those other couples who they don't touch each other. They're probably arguing the entire session, bickering back and forth. They put the kids between them. And I can, because I'm a life coach as well, or I'm a mindset recovery coach. And so
Yeah.
I naturally read people and kind of pay attention to situations and see
Hmm.
body language. And so I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I can see the distance in your relationship, and I wonder if they're able to see it.
Right. Right. I think a lot of times, yes, but sometimes no, because
Yeah.
when there's that stage of like you have kids, it's easy to be so busy with stuff that you distract yourself. It's like, you distract yourself from what's really going on and you
Yeah.
keep yourself busy so you don't have to look at it.
Right. Yeah. And I guess that
Yeah.
was kind of my point is like, do you see, so when your clients come to you, they've
Mhm.
probably already recognized the distance in their
Yes.
marriage.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't, they feel like, I've tried everything. I don't know if this will work. And I get that, you know. Um,
Yeah.
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 But
So how do you do? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, very interestingly enough, I mean, I would have said I thought I tried everything. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
read the books. I went, I felt like I had done everything. But there was kind of a missing piece. For me, I think we don't even realize the impact of our childhood and the wounds that we carry into our marriage, right?
Mhm.
So, as we're reacting to our spouse from our wounds that haven't been healed, and a lot of times we're triggering their wounds. And it's really about getting to know yourself more and
Mhm.
really leaning into, what that is. Like for me, just for an example, like my husband and I was, the quieter he got, the louder I got because I wanted to be seen and heard because I have this wound of I was too much, I wasn't seen and heard. And the louder I got triggered his like I can't deal with emotions. And so he would retreat more. So we were just in this pattern. And until I realized and stop and realize what was I really angry at or what was the hurt underneath. And as I started to heal that, and as I started to love myself, that I'm not too much and my emotions are okay, it just re- begins to bring healing to the relationship and you come at it a different way.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I really love that because I always tell people as a coach, because they'll ask, like, what's the difference between a counselor and a coach? And I'm like, well, coaches really work on like the here and now and the future, right? But you can't get away from the past when you're talking about the here and now because it doesn't matter if it's your relationship with alcohol, your mindsets. There's always going to be something kind of rooted in the past that is affecting your current state of mind. And until you can name it
Yes.
and identify it, you're never going to be free from it.
Right.
Yeah. And for you, it was having to tamp down your emotions as a child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did that affect you as a child?
It's lonely. It's lonely because and what I kind of see that I did was I became like I didn't totally shut down. Like I was there for other people. I support other people. I'm really good at seeing other people, but began to have a lot of resentment. Like I'm give to people, but I'm not getting it. But part of the not getting it was because I wasn't truly showing myself.
Yeah. Yeah. You weren't able to 100% let anybody in because,
Exactly.
I mean, just looking at you and the room, I had commented on your bright pink wall last time you told me it was your daughter's room.
Yes.
Um, but I think it really personifies who you are as a person. You are a bold person. You are a
Mhm.
bold personality. And you were smushing yourself into this little box that was non-reactive, non-emotional, non, you know, it,
Non-big.
yeah,
Yeah,
not
like
non-explosive.
yes. Yes.
And so you aren't able to truly connect with people when you aren't being your genuine self.
I know. I
And
know.
so they
Yeah.
don't know you well enough to connect with you. So how are they going to reciprocate what you need?
Yep.
So I always like to say, and I'm sure you've read the five love languages,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I
Yes,
tell
yes.
people all the time, I'm like, we all give and receive love in different ways.
Yep.
Yes. And we don't all receive love the way that we give love, right?
Right.
So it's not always okay. So my brother likes to show his love through gifts. That's how he gives love. He
Mhm.
doesn't like getting gifts. So getting him gifts in
Oh,
return is not going to show him that you love him.
okay. Interesting.
So for him, it's time, right? So
Oh,
spending
oh.
time with
Mhm.
him, quality time is his receiving love language.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if you're laying on the couch vegging out with him for the entire day and you do absolutely nothing else. If you do that with him, he knows you love him,
Awesome.
you
Yeah.
know? And so it's, you really, and if you have walls up like you did for
Mhm.
so long, your
Yeah.
spouse couldn't truly love you.
Mm-mm.
Your family couldn't truly love you. Your friends couldn't truly love you because it was like you were wearing a mask of I am this calm, cool, collected, non-emotional, non-bold person. And so
Yeah.
they loved the mask of you. And until you take the mask off and reveal yourself for who you truly are, they can't give you love the way you truly need it and want it because
That's right.
they don't know the real you.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing that you mentioned a mask because I'm doing a workshop this weekend for permission to be yourself, and it's about taking off the mask. It's like,
Well, tell us
wow, you could come to my workshop. You could teach it.
about the workshop. What are you doing? Who's it for? What are you doing?
Women at the local library. It's
Oh,
yeah. And we'll be doing doodling and painting. We'll be painting. We'll do a doodle of themselves and then a mask, dropping the mask, and just talking about what we're talking about. You can't truly connect when you're behind that mask because you're not being your true self. And yeah, try to,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, is it open to the public or
it
is
is.
it
It is. They do have to register. It's at the local library, the Ridley Township Library. I'm in Pennsylvania. I don't think,
okay?
where are you?
I'm in Dallas, Texas,
Texas. Okay.
but I was gonna say, if you have the registration details, I will share it on my Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Because I actually do have followers that are in Pennsylvania. So
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
yeah, so just share the details with me in the chat or afterwards, and I'll make sure
Sure.
it gets posted. But
Sure.
yeah, so that is really cool. So what else do you do? Do you normally do workshops like that?
I do. I do
Yeah.
virtual workshops and I also do in person.
Okay.
And it's usually around the issue of self-love because that's, where it all starts in
Yeah.
everything, every relationship, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did a live earlier about my own VIP day that I'm opening up to a few people.
Okay.
And I I'm sure you know when you're promoting something, it's like tell them how it can help and then tell them, come um what's it called? Rebuke the rebuttals, right? Like we're going to rebuke the rebuttals before they even come. So we're going to say, I know what you're thinking. And so that was one of the things that I said in my reel was, I know what you're thinking. There's no way that you can spend 8 hours focusing on just yourself,
Oh,
yourself, your well-being, your mental health, your physical health.
yeah,
But the truth is, you can't afford not to.
it's true.
Because if we don't first love ourselves, we are no good to anybody.
Right.
Like if you don't, and people used to always, when my daughter was little, my daughter's dad was sentenced to 15 years in prison when she was 9 months old.
Mhm.
And it went from, oh, the case is getting dropped to we're going to trial. A day
Oh,
later, he was sentenced.
ah,
And so I was an overnight single mother, and I was in college. I was working, I was going to school full time. I was working part time as a waitress. My daughter was 9 months old, and I was an overnight single mom. And I immediately, everybody was like, oh, you need to move back in with your mom. You need to quit school. You need to focus on your daughter. Like, you need to get a full time job. You've really got to buckle down and make sure that you're taking care of your daughter. You can't make choices like you can't just be in college. You've got to make choices for you and your daughter. And I immediately was like, no, because on top of all that, I was also only like no, I got sober December 2nd of 2005. I found out I was pregnant June of 2006. My ex went to prison October of 2000. Wait, sorry. Got pregnant in June of 2006. Had my daughter January of 2007. October of 2007 is when my ex went to
oh,
prison. So
right.
I was just barely a year sober at this point. Like I was a year and some months sober from drugs. And so I was like, look, I am just now getting sobriety under my feet. Like I'm just
Yeah.
now figuring out how to be sober. I am a new mom, and my top priority is my daughter. And so I was like, I cannot listen to anybody else. I have to focus on me being healthy, me being capable, and me being able to take care of my daughter. And I used
Hmm.
to get backlash all the time from family and friends who
Yeah.
because I would literally like take my daughter to daycare, and even if I was off of work, I would take her to daycare and I would go hang out with my friends, or I would go sit at a coffee shop and study, or I would go sit at the park and just sit in the grass if I wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
And I got so much backlash from family because they're like, "Oh, you should have quit school. Like you need to be focusing on your daughter and you're out there at a coffee shop hanging out with friends and studying when you should be spending time with your daughter." And it was just a lot of stuff. And I remember telling them like, "I cannot take care of her. I
Mhm.
cannot give her the future that I want to unless I am taking the time to care for myself."
Wow,
And
that
yeah,
was amazing that
yeah.
you had that. Mhm.
And I knew that I had to do that, but that's not a skill or a resiliency feature that many people have. I think most
Right.
people would have been in my situation and would have dropped out of school, gotten a full-time job, moved back in with mom until they were more stable. Like,
Yeah.
I think all of those things are normal. I think what you teach and what I did is the abnormal response.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
is more normal for us to do what you and I both did as young people, which is try to fit into the little box.
Yes.
That is the normal response to adversity. It's not to love yourself, treat
Right.
yourself better. It's not, oh, my spouse is neglecting me and I feel like I don't have a connection to him anymore. So I think the normal response is to turn to friends, turn to colleagues, turn to others for support rather than turn to someone and say, how do I fix this?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm really thankful that you're in the space that you're in because you're giving people an opportunity, women an opportunity to have somewhere to go. And you're teaching them that their husband isn't the issue.
I know, darn it. I'm sure he was.
And I'm sure that's what they think too.
Yes, it's like he needs to change for me to feel this way. And it's
It's
no,
backwards thinking, right?
it
It's
is.
similar
It's
to what I was
yep.
saying. Like, it's the backwards thinking. People were telling me to focus solely on my daughter and job and all that, but that's backwards thinking because when you're a single parent, you need to be focusing on you, your healing, your forward motion, your growth, your mental health and physical health. And when you're a spouse, a wife, you can't be a good wife if you don't love yourself. How can you love anybody else if you don't feel good about who you are? If you haven't dealt with the past traumas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes I mean, I can't really say that I realized that I didn't love myself. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I thought I loved myself. It's like, yeah. So sometimes I think that's part of it too, right? We don't even realize that we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you pull that out of your, because I'm sure the people who attend your workshops, they're coming because they want you to fix their husband.
I don't blame him. I can relate to that. But
Right.
the
I
greatest thing that I realized through this is having your power back. Like because feeling trapped is a terrible feeling, stuck and trapped. And that's what I thought I was. And even though it's like, it seems like we just want them to change, but we can't change anybody. We
bingo.
cannot. But we can take our power back
Mhm.
and we can show up differently. And even though it's like annoying to think it's us, like, because I get that. I get that.
Nobody wants to admit that it's them,
No,
right? We don't want
no,
to admit that we're the
right.
problem.
But
It's always you're the problem.
right. But the greatest thing is then we have the power. Like we can take our power back. And I didn't think I had any power.
Yeah.
which I didn't. I didn't have power to change him.
No, we don't have power to change
No.
anybody. And that's what I try to
No.
tell my clients all the time because I work with people who are struggling with um mindsets, behaviors, and substances, right? So that's kind of my niche is helping them break free from limiting mindsets or drinking too much or whatever the case may be. But it never fails. My client will say, yeah, well, if so and so didn't do blah, 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 then I wouldn't have to fill in the blank, right?
Right. Right.
If so and so didn't do whatever, whatever, then I wouldn't feel fill in the blank.
Yes.
And trying to get people to understand that you cannot control the other person. You can't
Mhm.
change the other person. The only thing you can do is control your reaction to their action.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's a powerful thing when people realize that. It really
Yes.
does. Like you said, it gives you your power back.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And as we change ourselves, things, I, as I stopped criticizing myself, not that I don't at all, of course, I'm still human, right? But as I learn and to talk to myself better and love myself more, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize how much I criticize my spouse. Like, whoa, no wonder he felt like he did. You know what I mean? Like, wow.
Yeah.
So, I'm changing myself and it
Yeah.
is changing our relationship because now I'm showing up differently because I'm not talking that way to myself. So I'm realizing I don't want to talk like that to other people either. That was the habit. That was that part of the brain that just likes to look at all the negative and yeah, changing that around.
Yeah, because well, when you are wearing I deal with this too. And I tell people, I'm like, when you aren't your authentic self,
Okay.
when you are, it would be like wearing shoes that are the wrong size.
Okay. Yeah.
After wearing shoes that are the wrong size for any length of time, you're gonna be grumpy because you're either gonna have blisters
Yes. That's true. Yeah. That's a good analogy.
or
Yeah.
your feet are going to be killing you.
Yeah.
And when you don't love yourself, that's like wearing a super uncomfortable pair of shoes, like the wrong size. So,
Okay.
of
Yeah.
course, you're going to be grumpy because nothing feels like it fits properly. You
Mm,
don't fit in anywhere. You don't know what to wear. You don't know how to act. You feel like everyone is judging you. You feel like everyone is attacking you. Everything, you're always on the defense.
yeah. Makes sense.
And you start to build a blister like
Mm,
you would on your feet when you don't have on the right size pair of shoes, right? And then eventually that blister turns into a callus.
mm.
And now you are calloused about your spouse, your friends, those women in the church
Oh,
group that won't accept you.
wow. I didn't think of this. I like this analogy. It's so
Okay. I mean, here, take it. You use it. But that's how I think of it. I think in
Yeah.
analogies and I think in like
That
pictures.
makes
So
sense. Yeah, because then you get hardened. You get
you
hardened against it.
do.
Yeah.
You do.
Hmm.
And then you don't even realize that you're doing it. You don't realize
Right.
that you are negative first, right? Like
Yeah.
that your husband says, "Hey, we should go to the movies." No, I don't want to go to the movies. Your
Yeah.
husband says, "Hey, I'm going to pick up burgers on the way home." I don't like burgers. You know I don't like burgers.
How many times do I have to tell you I don't like burgers?
Exactly.
You don't listen to me. Yeah.
But when we start, like you were saying, when you start talking differently to yourself,
Yeah.
when you start loving yourself, like you don't want to treat yourself that way. And my daughter is in high school, so this is like new or like fresh on my mind all the time. But I tell her all the time, I'm like, when people are mean to you, and it's gotten better because I started telling her this in junior high. And so
Mm.
now she's like a duck. She's like me. We just let stuff roll right off our backs. We're like, whatever. But it wasn't always that way for her. When she was in junior high, people would be mean to her
Mhm.
and she would take it very personally. It would hurt her feelings so bad.
Mhm.
And I used to tell her, hey, like when people are mean like that, it is not a reflection of you. It is a reflection of how they speak to themselves and how they think of themselves. Like when they're mean like that and they spread rumors or whatever they're doing, like they don't feel good about themselves. If they're going to talk about you like that, that means they talk to themselves like that. And so we really need to be praying for them so that God will soften their heart to themselves because right now they don't like it. They don't like themselves very much.
Mhm.
And so it really is the way that we speak to our spouses, the way that we speak to our children, our boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. Like that is truly a reflection of how you see yourself.
Mhm.
And I think the work that you do is really powerful because you are giving people the opportunity to sit and look in the mirror
Mhm.
and really see, how am I talking to myself? How am I treating myself? Because when we really love ourselves, we want to take care of ourselves. It's like when you have a brand new puppy. Like you have a brand new puppy, you're so in love with this puppy, or a new relationship.
Mhm.
When you're in a brand new relationship, you just started dating, you're all over each other, you can't get enough of each other. So it's like you've got to get back to that,
Mhm.
right? You've got to get back to loving yourself so much that you want to spend time with yourself. You want to take care of yourself, take care of your body, take care of your mind, and it will naturally overflow into your relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you have going on? What is going on in your world besides the workshop? What are you working on?
Personally,
Mhm.
or um, well, personally, I'm still working on that voice of mine. Like just,
Mhm.
um, I've had big shifts,
Yeah.
big shifts, like, in believing in myself and that I do have. So I'm working on that, stepping into the confidence of,
Mhm.
what I have to say and offer matters. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually posted about that this morning. I This week I'm talking all about breaking free from self-sabotage. And so
Okay.
I actually spoke about how what you have to say matters. There are people out there who need to hear your wisdom, your knowledge, the information that you have, your experience. Like
Mhm.
I'm telling you, in my neighborhood alone, I know there's just for my photography client list. No, I know, I see it. I see how much relationships are suffering and I see how
Yeah.
much marriage is being attacked. And if we can stop looking at it as us against them, then we can start to repair and rebuild our marriages
Yes.
collaboratively. And
Mhm.
even if your spouse is like not hearing any of it, right? Like they're just like zoned out on the couch.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you have to stay stuck. You do the work, you do the
Right.
growth. And I would almost guarantee that they're going to be like, hey, she's different. There's something different about her.
Yes.
And it'll have them leaning in to see, like, what's going on here? Like,
Uh-huh.
what's different? There's something different here.
Yes.
Yeah. So don't stop. I want you to keep believing in yourself and working on your voice of confidence, because what you have to share is powerful. And I think that you were created not just for the library in Pennsylvania. That's
Okay.
amazing. I'm glad for it. I'm
Yes,
so
yes, yes.
excited. That's so cool. It actually gives me an idea to offer a workshop at my local library.
There you go.
Yeah. So what else are you working on anything else personally, professionally? What you got going on? Fill us in on all the details.
Well, still, taking clients, one-on-one clients, coaching
Okay.
clients.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Personally, my husband and I just bought a trailer, which we're so excited because we love camping and we did a lot of it when the kids were little and all good memories, but kind of haven't done it for a while. And we were both talking like what we really both real something we both really like. So we're really excited about that. Yeah.
That's really cool. And I think that is a testament to what you teach and the work that you did, because
Yes.
you and your husband, it sounds like you had kids, maybe transitioned into empty nesters, and now you're at that place where you could very easily grow apart.
Oh yeah.
But instead, you are
Yep.
coming together with something that you both enjoy.
Yes. And
Yeah.
before that, I'll tell a tip for people that's helped us is we set in our calendar probably uh, maybe 8 months ago, we set like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we spend an hour, just sit, like go over calendars or whatever. And it's really just connecting like that. Like, because otherwise, he works a different shift, he works second shift. You can just not even talk to each other, you know? You're like
Yeah.
ships passing in the night. And we like mark that in our calendar. And it's been great. It's been really
Yeah.
doesn't have
So
to
is
be
it,
even deep.
yeah. So is it like, okay, let's sit down and let's go through our calendars together
Sometimes,
specifically, or is it just whatever
yeah,
comes up,
usually,
comes up?
I mean, my husband is a quiet guy, so it's usually if anybody has anything to say or anything to talk about, it might be me, but I'm accepting he's where he's more on the quiet end, but yeah, like whatever it may be. So there's a space for it, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be heavy talk, but go over the calendar or just like, hey, what's going on? Yeah, how's, anything new? How was work? Whatever. Yeah.
I love that. I love that because I always hear relationship coaches say schedule, they'll say schedule sex and schedule date nights. But I really like that practical tip of just
Yeah.
schedule time to talk,
Yep. Yeah.
because
And
there's,
it's just an hour. Like we just
yeah,
flip it and it's like that idea that you're making each other the priority. Like that's what it feels like to me. Like, hey, I mean, we're both open to like if something else comes up, but it's like, oops, that's on my calendar. That's our time.
yeah, I really like that. That is
Yeah.
because, yeah, I mean, so my husband and I often struggle with, excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We often struggle because I work from home, he
Okay.
works in an office.
Okay.
And so, and I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go for a walk. And then I come back with my daughter. I come back and I make breakfast. And while I'm making breakfast, he's taking a shower. And then when he gets out of the shower and is ready to leave for work, I'm getting in the shower. So we are like ships passing in the night, in the
Mhm.
morning time around here. And
Yeah.
then he comes home from work at 6, and usually at 6 I'm either on a call or making dinner or running, to the grocery store to get stuff for dinner. So we don't actually like sit down to talk until about 8 o'clock at night. And
Hmm.
by then, he's like knees deep in his video game or working on his motorcycle or whatever it is, right? Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's enthralled in something already. So then it's like, okay, well, I can't really talk to you right now because you're distracted. So I'll just sit here on the couch. And then by the time he simmers down, I'm ready for bed because I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I go to bed early and he's kind of a little night owl. He'll stay up until about midnight.
Okay.
So it's like we don't really ever have that time, and he works a sales job. So his day is like back to back work calls. And so unless I remember to stop and text him whatever it is that's going on,
Yeah.
then he may or may not know what's happening around here.
Okay.
And so I love that idea of putting intentional talking time on the calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if you just start little, like one day, a half an hour, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he could give up a video game just for a half an hour. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because usually it's like, okay, we're eating dinner, and like he also has a late lunch. So he eats at like 2 or 3 in the
Oh, okay.
afternoon. So when I make dinner, my daughter and I are hungry because we eat at a normal lunchtime. So
Yeah.
he's not really eating dinner with us either. So it's not
Okay.
like, you know, dinner
Right.
time is the time that we can talk. So I
Yeah.
really like that. And I think that'll be really helpful for other people too, of like intentionally putting talking
Yeah.
time on the calendar, because it's not high pressure like date night, right? It's
Yeah.
not,
No.
you don't want to have like a conversation about the bug spray guy come into the house at dinner at a nice restaurant on date night. Like,
Right.
no. So yeah, I like that. I like that. Very nice.
Let me
Very nice.
know. Let me know how it goes.
I'll let you know how it goes, because it's, yeah, because I have noticed then we're talking about literally the bug spraying at date night. And I've heard other relationship coaches be like, at date night, it should be nothing to do with the house or the kids. It should be, and I've even been given like little conversation cards for date night.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I
I
like
got
that.
them. I actually got them for my bachelorette party. Someone gave them to me for my bachelorette party.
Sweet.
But yeah, it removes the need to utilize date night for household
Yeah.
day to day, what you got going on conversations.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for that tip. And anything else? What else you got going on? Anything else you want? Oh, I was going to ask,
Okay.
what would a one-on-one, like what would a traditional coaching session look like with you? In case anybody's wondering, what does that look like?
What does it look like? Well, we would, well, before we started the coaching, we'd go over, what the person wants to work on and maybe what's stopping that from happening. And just so we work on whatever, and it does, like it's mindset. So we're going to look at the thoughts and the emotions. We can look at that too, which is really powerful. Okay, this is my emotion. Well, what thought? Because our thoughts are what cause our emotions, right?
Yeah.
Not the circumstance, but how we think about it. And, walk them through, maybe sometimes helping them come up with a different thought option because they're not getting the result they want. Things like that. That's how we, work through it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, it is that if you can get people to understand that their emotion, it's a little mouse and it has a tail, and that tail is connecting to something. What is it connecting to?
Your thoughts.
What thought
Yeah,
sparked this big emotion that is now causing you to scream at your husband about whatever?
right,
Or what thought is driving the fact that you don't feel like being intimate with your husband? Like, what? Let's follow it back and see. So,
right, right. And it's powerful. I mean, it's been powerful for me to learn these tools, to be able to look at, and not just with my spouse, but for myself. Like
mhm.
say in my business, right? Well, what result am I getting? And what thought am I having? Okay, I'm thinking, oh, I don't have anything good to offer, right? So then what emotion? I'm going to feel like apathy. And when I feel
Right.
like that, what actions do I take? When you see that on the paper and realize like, oh, okay, I can change that. It's not true that I don't have anything to offer. I'm excited to share this information. Then you feel motivated. Then you're writing your classes and getting the results. It's really powerful
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see
It
it.
really is. It's a trickle down effect. But until you understand the root cause of this emotion, and I
Right.
think too, sometimes we might say, I'm frustrated. And that
Oh,
is a blanket emotion. Okay, what are
what's
you
under it?
frustrated about?
Yes.
Well, my husband refuses to take out the trash. Okay. So you're frustrated because he's taking out the trash, or he's not taking out the trash. Okay, but what are you really feeling associated with that? Like, what does that
You have
spark?
to go.
You have to go
Mhm.
deeper because it
Yes.
might be she doesn't feel supported. She
Yeah.
doesn't feel cared for. She
Yeah.
doesn't feel heard.
Yep.
Like, what is the true cause behind this emotion? Like, frustrated is, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
blanket emotion, but let's dig deeper.
Same thing
So,
with anger. That was me a lot. Angry, angry. But now I know if that trigger hits and I feel that instant, like it's almost like you can't even, like it just happens so fast from 0 to 10, right? That trigger. And when that happens, then I say to myself, okay, I know it's not really anger. And I sit and now I go down lower.
yes.
It's that I'm not being seen or heard, the disappointment. Yeah. So that's part of with relationships is, being able to take a moment when that trigger, and really looking at what is it underneath. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because quite often it is not the trash.
Oh, it never is the
It's
trash.
never the trash.
It's never usually the circumstance. It really isn't. It's not. You're right. That's right. It's not.
Never the trash.
Nope.
I know. I always make jokes because I'm like, hey, if my husband ever goes missing and I get a new rose bush, don't go looking under that rose bush. But it's never just right. It's never just the surface thing. Like, I
No.
make those jokes. I'm like, okay, it's, I he's driving me crazy about whatever. But I know and he knows that it's not really just the fact that he didn't take out the trash.
Right.
It's that I've been asking you to do something and I don't feel like you're listening. Or,
Yep.
there's something always below the surface. And if we don't dig out the root, if we don't go searching for that root,
Yes.
then before you know it, you're sleeping in separate bedrooms. You haven't spoken in months, like aside from, are you picking up the kids? No. And that's if you still have kids in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really is important to do the heart work.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, do the heart work
Yes.
and dig in, figure out what is at the root, what is driving this. And yeah, I think you said this earlier, but we can almost guarantee that the root is something, a hurt in your heart that needs
Yeah.
to be healed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Anything else? Got anything else for us? I've asked that like 3 times because I was gonna wrap up and then I was like, wait, I've got another question.
I think that's it for today.
Okay, well, thank you for being on. And where can everyone find you?
Well, they can find me on my website.
Okay.
At it's www.terrysheartofthematter.com.
Yes, love it, love it. And we're fellow Terrys. I went by Terry for years, and I actually spelled it the same as you, Terri.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you don't go by Terry now, do you?
No, I went by Terry in junior high because there were 9 Teresas at
Oh.
my school. I had always been the only Teresa my entire life. Didn't know
Oh.
anybody else named Teresa until I got to junior high, and there were 9 of us.
Wow.
And I had a boy Terry and 2 Teresas in my history class. So there were
Wow.
3 of us. And so and the boy Terry was Terry. So I went by Terri
Okay.
to try to help because it was 2 Terrys and 2 Teresas.
Wow.
So my teacher would say Terry with a Y, Terry with an I to differentiate me and the boy Terry. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, thank you for being on, and I will share all of your links in the bio in the show notes for this show. I'll get them from you. I'll get your website, and we'll share them there. So
Awesome.
until next time, guys, be well, be kind, and may you find some joy this week. Bye.